I think it's unfair to call this one a dumb argument. It comes about from a misreading of Wisconsin statutes, but it's been bandied around a lot, and I think it's time to clear the air on this. Kyle is only being charged with first-degree intentional homicide for the shooting of Anthony Huber. A lot of people are saying that Kyle Rittenhouse cannot claim self-defense for the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum or for the shooting of Gaige Grosskreutz because self-defense only applies in the case of first-degree intentional homicide. And they are wrong. And I'm now going to explain why. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
This concerns Section 939.44, adequate provocation. Provocation is one of those things that people have been bandying around about the whole Kyle Rittenhouse saga, and a lot of people are getting it wrong. Why? Well, 939.44 contains a subsection, if you will, subsection 2, that states adequate provocation is an affirmative defense only to first-degree intentional homicide and mitigates that offense to second-degree intentional homicide. And a lot of people are saying, aha, Kyle is being charged only with reckless homicide, and therefore the issue of provocation does not apply. They assume that this refers to self-defense. It does not. 939.44 has nothing to do with self-defense. Okay, so let's go ahead and read it. Adequate provocation. In this section, adequate means sufficient to cause complete lack of self-control in an ordinarily constituted person. And by constituted, that means functioning. Provocation means something which the defendant reasonably believes the intended victim has done, which causes the defendant to lack self-control completely at the time of causing death. And the mistake a lot of people are making is to assume that the provocation is the one that they think that Kyle Rittenhouse has engaged in that caused Jojo Rosenbaum to chase him. No. And this is where we have to be very careful how we define who is who in this case. So let me give you an example. If Bob is walking up to Jane and sprays Jane in the face with mace, that could anger Jane to the point where she shoots Bob. Now, that's homicide. In this case, Jane can't claim self-defense necessarily. To claim self-defense, she would have to state that she feared for her life because of the mace. However, in this case, let's suppose that she can't. She can claim that she was adequately provoked by Bob because of his spraying her in the face angered her to the point where she shot him. That means that if the jury agrees, her first-degree intentional homicide would be lowered to second-degree homicide. Why? It states it right here. Adequate provocation by Bob is an affirmative defense only to first-degree intentional homicide and mitigates that offense to second-degree intentional homicide. So if they charge her with second-degree intentional homicide, she cannot claim provocation as a way of mitigating the charge because she's already being charged with only second degree. It only applies if she would have been charged with first-degree intentional homicide. In the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, adequate provocation would only apply if Jojo Rosenbaum was on trial. He could then claim that he was provoked into attacking and, let's say, killing Kyle because Kyle provoked him. Now, I'm not saying that Kyle provoked him or anything. That's a whole nother argument. People have been going back and forth about whether Kyle actually provoked anybody. And I will say this, I see no evidence whatsoever that he has. Whatever the case, Kyle is on trial here, not Jojo. Kyle is claiming self-defense, not adequate provocation. Two different things. Now, if Kyle claimed that he shot Jojo Rosenbaum out of anger, that Jojo did something to make him mad or lose control of his faculties and he shot him because of that, then this would be an affirmative defense he could apply if he was charged with first-degree intentional homicide. He is not. He's being charged with reckless homicide. But Kyle is not claiming adequate provocation at all. He's claiming self-defense. Two completely different things. So if you're out there thinking that Kyle can't claim self-defense for what happened with Jojo Rosenbaum because he is being charged with reckless homicide instead of intentional homicide, false. That is completely incorrect, and I'm now going to show you why. Okay, so we go to 939.45, privilege. It states, the fact that the author's conduct is privileged, although otherwise criminal, is a defense to prosecution for any crime based on that conduct. The defense of privilege can be claimed under any of the following circumstances, and I'm going to highlight number 2 here. When the actor's conduct is in defense of persons or property under any of the circumstances described in 939.48 or 939.49. And what is 939.48? It's the familiar self-defense statute, where it states that a person is privileged to threaten or intentionally use force, blah, blah, blah. Nothing in 939.48 states anything about first-degree intentional homicide or second-degree intentional homicide or whatever. Therefore, privilege, which in this case, Kyle is seeking privilege because he's claiming that he was privileged to shoot Joseph Rosenbaum out of self-defense, can be applied to any crime as long as it falls under any of these circumstances, and the one that he's going to be claiming is obviously 939.48. Therefore, Kyle Rittenhouse, who is being charged with reckless homicide, can claim self-defense for the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum. I should also mention that it says here the actor may intentionally use only such force or threat thereof as the actor reasonably believes is necessary to prevent or terminate the interference. So in other words, this also applies to the shooting of Gaige Grosskreutz. Nowhere in this statute does it state that the action taken by Kyle Rittenhouse must result in the death of the attacker. Therefore, Kyle could claim self-defense in the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, and Gaige Grosskreutz. Like my video, subscribe to my channel.